Okay, and we are live. Welcome, everybody. I am live here with Julie Boyer. I hope I said that right.
You did.
So excited to have you, Julie. Thank you for being here. So, Julie is part of our series called How She Did It, where we're going behind the scenes with 10 amazing women sharing how they made, leverage, invested to build 6 and 7 figure businesses. So, Julie is the host of the Wake Up with Gratitude podcast, which I love, by the way. She's also an intuitive business and health coach and a 3-time Amazon best-selling author. So, Julie has practiced gratitude, which I'm excited to talk about also, for more than a decade, and founded Wake Up with Gratitude in 2017. So, Julie, let's talk a little bit about that as well. One of the things I also want to touch on is you also mentioned that you had a life-threatening experience that really taught you this, that every day is really a gift. And I'm curious if that was like a catalyst to the gratitude practice that you've taken on.
Well, what's interesting, Lisa, is that I'd already been practicing gratitude before I got sick. So, for a number of years, I've been doing a daily gratitude practice where, and I think this is such a great business lesson, actually, is because I'd learned how to practice gratitude at a business conference I had been to, which is one of the ways that I've always invested in my business, is attending conferences and trainings and that kind of thing. And I'd heard Sean Aker speak about changing your mindset in 21 days. And one of the things he suggested was to start to write in a gratitude for what had happened that day specifically, like really specific gratitude. And I added something called a gratitude intention. So I started to write an intention along with what I was grateful for that day. And what actually happened, Lisa, when I first started this practice is 12 weeks later, I accomplished a business goal that had been evading me for years. So I had been practicing gratitude for many years before I got sick. It was one of those things, and this is what I teach: is you start practicing gratitude when things are going well, because then when things aren't going to go well, because that happens to all of us, it's definitely going to be a necessary thing to help you get through it. And I'll tell you, I ended up in the hospital with a life-threatening bacterial infection. I was in a medically induced coma for a week, and it was the only time really I think it had been 6 years since I'd been writing in my gratitude journal. And it was the only time where I had a gap. There's like a 2-week gap where I didn't write in my journal. And I do remember feeling, waking up after, being asleep for a week, and just that reverence for life and that desire to really wake up with gratitude. Like, that was really a moment where I was like, I can choose to be upset or frustrated with what happened because it happened after I'd had a miscarriage, or I could choose to just have this beautiful reverence for life, which, it sounds nice. I don't do it every single day, but it's certainly really a lot of how I choose to start my day.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I feel like, I'm curious for you. I often feel like when we go through these big life altering things, right? There's like these sort of convergences that happen in our life. It's a catalyst for something, right? And we get to choose what that's a catalyst for. It's like, what direction is that going to take us? And just, knowing you and learning about you in recent weeks, getting to know you more, I'm like, definitely that was obviously a catalyst for you even stepping more into your power. And would you say that that's true? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But it didn't happen right away. Well, I shouldn't say that. I actually, so what happened almost right away is that, after I came home from the hospital, I, gave myself a couple of weeks to sort of start to recover. And literally within a month of being home from the hospital, I actually started towards my next business goal that was a 12-week goal instead of a 1-month goal. And I had set my intention to, we had a celebration in Vegas, and I wanted to be at that celebration in Vegas at my next promotion. And it was crazy because I had just been out of the hospital like in December and this was in April. But I set my intention to do it because I was like, yeah, why am I wasting time now? So it was definitely a catalyst in that way of just like getting me like into really being of service to others and just saying like, the health part of my business, like that was really at that time what I was focusing on most. And it was like, yeah, I really need to be of service to more people. And that's going to help me reach my goal. It took me another year and a half before I actually launched Wake Up with Gratitude. It's really weird, Lisa. Like, I had this list of affirmations on my wall of my bathroom for like 2 years. And the last one says, I wake up with gratitude. And then it took me 2 years to realize that like that's actually, my brand. I was branded like as Julie Boyer, but I was like, I want a brand. And that was, it was right in front of me for 2 years.
That's so fun. It's, it was kind of like your future you was like planting a seed, when you wrote those down, like,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. And then it
so
all made sense, right? I was like, of course it's wake up with gratitude. So
yeah, of course. Oh, I love that so much. Gratitude is so powerful. I think of gratitude as an energy, right? It's like a high vibrational energy that carries so much power in like a positive direction. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, so I want to like back up a little bit
Mm.
because this whole series obviously is about pulling back the curtains and going behind the scenes. I'm going to mention at the end a little bit more about the Rise Up Ripple Out grants that we're giving away. But Kayla and I, when we started this business, we were like, okay, we want to do things differently. Like, how can we do business in a different way that creates this ripple effect out into the world? And that was part of where like this grant giveaway idea came from. And I'm so excited to talk to you today because you are a woman to me who I think has a similar mission, right? It's like you've done a lot of different things. You've been an author, you're a coach, a serial entrepreneur, you're homeschooling, and I think I even read like Ironman finisher. I was like, what? That's so crazy. But what I see you doing is like with all of these different pieces that you do, it's like creating this ripple effect out into the world. And you're someone I believe who just by being you shows other women what's possible. How have you like, has gratitude been the mindset that has allowed you to jump into these different areas?
Well, thank you so much. I receive your kind words with gratitude. Thank you for that. And where has gratitude been as a part of all of this? I mean, here's the thing that I've always taught is that, like you said, gratitude is an energy and a vibration and a way of being. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to have a little bit more confidence when I'm taking risks. It helps me to know that I can be grateful when I fall. It helps me to have that practice of when things aren't going well, I know where I can go to find a way to get through things and a way to move to the next level. I've been in business for 15 years and I had a lot of consecutive years of growth. And then I had 3 really difficult years. And those years a lot of those were connected to when my daughter was no longer able to go to school. What happened was we moved our family across the country and my daughter was 7 at the time and she was just not able to adjust and went through really serious separation anxiety and panic attacks. And so I had to bring her home. And, as a work from home entrepreneur for all those years, before my daughter came home, it was a huge adjustment for us. It was a very difficult time. And for me, I continued this gratitude practice and I continued to like look for ways to find gratitude, even though we were going through some really, really difficult times. So, I finally have momentum back in my business. I'll tell you, this is like my one like really big tip for newer business owners. And when they start is like, once you get momentum in your business, keep going. We sometimes think that when we first get that momentum, it'll keep going on its own. It's the biggest lesson I can teach is that once you feel that momentum, keep it going because it's so much easier to keep the momentum going than to get it back, right? So now
Right.
I finally feel like I'm getting it back.
Love that. So let's back it up even further. Where did your journey as an entrepreneur first begin?
Oh, that when I was a kid, I had a babysitting business and not just like I wasn't just a babysitter. I had a babysitting business. I had a little book where I wrote down all my clients' names, their kids, their kids' names, their ages, things that they liked. I had a babysitting box, like, so I would bring a box of like my own toys and things so that the kids would have something new to play with. Like, I for sure like ran the babysitting business in my neighborhood. So, I mean, I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. My mom, my mom, when we were young, so I probably was in first grade, she decided to leave her job and work from home, which at that time, in the early 80s, that's not what you did as a mom. Like, you certainly weren't working from home, but she didn't want to commute all the time. And we were paying for a nanny and all these things. So she started her own business. And I grew up in a home where my mom worked from home all while I was growing up. My dad, in and out jobs, businesses, all different things. So I really grew up with that environment of you can run your own business and you can do your own thing. And I always thought that I would, it's interesting. I always thought that I would be a teacher. My sister is actually a teacher, but I went and taught overseas. I taught French overseas for a couple of years, trained for my second Ironman, and, was coming back to Canada to actually finish my teaching degree. And I had been introduced to, I had started my business at the same time, and I was like, just going to do it part-time because that was like the wise thing to do. But instead, I dropped out of school and decided that I would give my business my all and just make it a go for it. I mean, it took me about 18 months to kind of create a full-time revenue from that business. But, I mean, at the time I was single, I just met my husband, it didn't, well, he wasn't my husband then, but I just met him. It wasn't as much of a risk as of course it is today to like drop everything and start a business from scratch. So that's, I tried to be an employee, but I've never been a very good employee.
Yeah, I totally get that. So it's always been in your blood. And that's really, I mean, that's really cool that you're like, maybe part-time. No, let me just like go for it. And 18 months in the world of entrepreneurship, that's pretty fast success, I would say.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. And then, yeah, and then stuff happened. And anyways, it's just a crazy journey. I put my business on hold for a couple of years. I tried something else, which was like a big failure, but I got some amazing lessons. It was actually a time where I invested a ton in my personal growth and personal development. So I actually lost money for those couple of years where I invested really heavily in personal development, but my business, I had taken a back seat and I was trying something new that did not take off. And then, came back and relaunched the health business. That's really been the core foundation of my business today. But yeah, it's like definitely not all like rainbows and Care Bears.
Yeah, and I really appreciate this side of the conversation. And it's part of the reason Kayla and I wanted to like to share this, to pull back the scenes on businesses because or women in business, because success is not, it's not linear, right? It's not just like we follow the steps and we just keep walking up the steps to success. It's like it actually is more like peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
And it's a learning process. And that's where, one of the things you said that I want to touch on is you invested really heavily in personal growth during those years.
Yeah.
And, I've talked about this on some of the previous interviews, is like anytime we invest in our own expansion, there is always a positive return on investment. Maybe not in the moment, as you were like
Yeah.
transition cycle, but would you say that those investments have paid off since that time?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've invested in so many courses and programs and coaches and all sorts of different things. And, one of the things that I remember that was really a pivotal moment was a coach that I worked with, where I had the brand Wake Up with Gratitude, but I hadn't really done anything with it. And this coach that I worked with, she was a money mindset coach. I did not have the money to pay her. This always happens. Like it's kind of like when you need a coach is when you can't afford it. Like, that's the irony, right? Is like, so
Yeah.
what you're offering right now, like if that's going to be an investment for someone to sign up for a course or a program or a mentorship, like it's a great investment because usually when you're at that point in your business, when you're really struggling, it's like you don't have the cash for the coach, but I did it anyways. And she was the one who really pushed me to like get an online store going for Wake Up with Gratitude, which is one of my businesses. And it really was like it was like, oh yeah, like that's what I got out of that coaching. I got so much more from it, but I can like pinpoint back and looked a year later. And then, last year I had, a great year for that part of my business. And so it's like, it's so interesting how each little thing, turns into something else. Like this year I invested. So for 2021, I've invested in a year-long mentorship program. It's a very steep price tag. I think a lot of people would like choke on the price tag, but if you're an entrepreneur and you've invested, you're like, it's worth the money. And it has. And not only because I've seen business growth, which is great, but I've also like the mindset growth that I've had, like has been just really phenomenal. So do you mind if I share like an example of just
Yeah,
real
please
life?
do. Yeah,
Okay.
please.
So we might think that all this investing we do is going to just help our business, but it also can help with what we're trying to create in our own life. So not even a month ago, we decided that our home was going to go up for sale. And it's an important move for us. We need to separate financially from my parents who we had purchased the home with. So markets here, like in a lot of places, are an insane seller's market, right? So if you're selling your house, it's a really good time to sell because you're going to get really good money. So we literally we made the decision the weekend, we got it ready. It was on the market by the Thursday. By the Monday, we had a conditional offer. And by the Saturday, so 10 days after it hit the market, we had a firm closed offer on the house, over asking price. Everyone's happy. So now we've sold our house and we had like 80 days to find a new house, right? Because we sold before buying. And everyone's like, this market is crazy. Like, I don't know, like how are you going to find something? Because we were downsizing. So we have a smaller budget to work with, all of these things. And I was just like, I'm just going to like keep like creating my intention of what I want, what I'm looking for, what my budget is, all of these things. So Saturday, okay, our house sells. Thursday, 5 days later, this one property comes on the market. I'm like, ooh, this is kind of interesting. It's in our price range, knowing that we'd have to overbid. The Friday we went to see it, okay? Friday night we were preparing an offer. We weren't quite ready. So Saturday morning, because these people were taking offers on the Monday, but we're like, we're going to go in hot on Saturday. So Saturday morning at 9 a.m., we put in our aggressive, no conditions offer. And by 1 o'clock on Saturday, we had bought a house.
Amazing. Amazing.
So that's actually to me the reason I was able to like manifest all of that in 3 weeks and secure a home for our family is because I invested in this business-based program this year where I'm constantly surrounded by people that have a positive mindset, that are inspiring me, that are giving me training, that are lifting me up. Like the two are not separate.
Yeah, I
You know?
100% get
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's not separate. And it's when we are, and like you said, there's so many pieces of it. Number one, it's the trust that we display with the universe. When we just like make an investment in a place of trust, like, of course, this is going to come back to me and I know it and I'm not worried about it. Right.
Yeah.
And then, part of that is you're surrounded by all of this positive energy and these people who have dreams and goals and are supporting you and you're supporting them. And, it's this beautiful community. And of course, you're in this space, you're supported in this space for you to be in a position to manifest exactly what you needed with no fear, with no stress, just like, okay, this is what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that so
It's
much.
like such a relief because now we're 74 days away from move date, but we have a house to go to. So it's like we can just focus on getting ourselves sorted. And then it's also a benefit to my business, right? Because the energy I was using to find a house was, of course, taking time away from growing and building my business. So it's like it's opened more space in my mind to grow my business over the next 3 months instead of like being in a stressful situation. So it's exciting.
That's amazing. It's a thread we've noticed, like, as we've been interviewing these women. So last week and this week, if you guys haven't caught other interviews, you're just tuning in. We've been doing these Facebook Lives last week, Monday through Friday, and this week, Monday through Friday. And for all of the women we've interviewed, that's been a common denominator. They are investing in support. They are investing in their own growth. Like they're not, they're creating success because they're not standing there like I have to do it all myself, or it's this willingness to want to expand. And I love that so much. That's a great example. So thank you for sharing, kind of some tips for entrepreneurs today too. And I'm curious, one question we've been asking all the women that we've interviewed is, if you had a cash injection today of $2,000 just dropped in your bank account for your business, how would you invest that today?
So because I've already put money aside for a full year of personal growth and development and mentorship, so that would be my first choice if I hadn't already done it personally. There's where I would go first, because I feel like if you can't get your mindset straight and you don't have a positive environment, like that's gonna not, like, you need to set that up first. The next thing right now that I need the most help with, that I would get help with, is marketing. So I'm really great at creating content. Like, I can create a ton of content, but I know that the part that I really need more help with is in marketing. And I find the trickiest part with marketing is knowing who to hire. So that's where, if you're going to spend the money in marketing dollars, talk to people that are in your industry, ask them who they've hired and worked with and had success with, because it, my marketing person and your marketing person aren't going to be the same. Just like, we all aren't going to work with the same realtor or mortgage broker or whatever, because, or coach even. You have to really find the right fit for you. So that's where I would go, is really under better marketing dollars.
Amazing. Yeah, that's such an important investment too, that I haven't talked about it in some of the other interviews that I've done, is, investing in our marketing. I mean, that's really important, right? That creates a definite return on investment when we're invested in the right place with the right people.
Yeah. And if you're already comfortable creating content, right? So I'm a creator. I love to create content. So I've got a ton of content, and I need where I would spend my money is helping with someone to get that content out to more of the target audience. That's what I would just get more eyes on the content that I'm already creating. So that might not be you. Like, if you don't have the content creation, then maybe you work with a writer or an artist or a creative to have more creative content, right? Whatever it is, where are you right now where that would be better for you? And that's also like understanding your own business too. It's kind of a tricky thing, but what I would say is, for those that are going to, win this grant, like, I would say, take a breath before you invest it.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
It's exciting. You win, you're like, ah, but like, take a breath, look around 360 in your business and yourself, right? And see, like, okay, maybe I would even write, like, okay, where are like 3 areas where that would make a really big difference, and think about it. Don't make that rash decision. Just like give yourself at least 48 hours to, like, and then interview people, right? Interview the people that you're going to work with.
That's great advice. Yeah, take a breath and make a wise investment, based on, what does my business really need? Like, a lot of times I'll do this exercise with my clients of, like, what's the one thing, like, okay, we've got this list of goals. What's the one thing that if you achieved this would make the other goals easier to
Yes.
attain?
One of
Yeah.
my that's it. I do the same. It's like, we can have like 25 goals, but it's like, if you do the one thing, the other ones sort of fall into place. I love that.
Yes, so good. Thank you. So a couple things I just want to pinpoint before we wrap that I'm really hearing you say is, you like, your process, you allowed yourself to have the learning process, and we all go through it. So initially in the beginning, right, some of the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, and thank you for sharing that, because that's true for all of us. Like, we're here to learn. Like, that's what it is. It's all about, we have success, we have learning moments, and we keep going. You've invested heavily in personal growth and development for you, and you've always seen a return on investment, which I think is so, so important. And as you continue to up level now with this amazing level of success you've created, you're still surrounding yourself with people who are where you want to go, always a next level, right? There's always more to grow. So thank you so much for that. And let me just share with you guys, the Rise Up Ripple Out grant is available. I popped the link here in the right here in this video. You guys can just click the link and apply. We're giving away 5 $2,000 grants for entrepreneurs who are ready to make an up level. So, if you are looking to, we love the idea of this ripple effect. That's how we came up with this. Is like, we want, for every woman who invests $1 into our business, or who invests into our business, we want to earmark some money to then create that ripple effect out into the world. And we're looking for women who want to do the same, and you don't have to do it that way. Like, we have a belief that even if you are just a yes for you, you believe in yourself, you take a stand to follow your dream, you are inspiring other people. Just by being you, people are like, whoa, if she could do that, I think I could do that too. And that's amazing. So there's no strings attached. You get to just apply and tell us what you're creating. We're so excited to share and to hear from all of you. And Julie, anything else I missed or anything that you want to share before we wrap today?
I would say a reminder that however you choose to practice gratitude every day is the right way. Doesn't matter what it is, how much time you spend on it. If you can spend even a few moments in each day, just putting your hand over your heart and saying thank you, that is more than enough to really start you on a practice of gratitude. And, you know, give yourself grace. You need grace as an entrepreneur, that's for sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
Tons of grace. Where can they find you online if they want to learn more?
Sure. So my website is wakeupwithgratitude.com. And then I'm on all the socials as Julie CM, and then my last name Boye. Julie Boye was taken, so it's just got my middle initials. But Wake Up with Gratitude is a pretty easy way to find me if you want to see my photos and that kind of thing. And the podcast, it's all under Wake Up with Gratitude.
So good. And the podcast is so good, you guys. Check it out. All right. Thank you, Julie. I really enjoyed our time together and good luck with the move.
Thank you. I'm excited.